Okay, here we are. We're back. We've got our new guy Roy here. I've got him on a martingale rope lead, okay, as our first tool that we're gonna start with here. I've done no real teaching on leash yet so far, no checking of pulling or anything. We spent just 2 or 3 minutes of just sort of hand feeding here, just something like this, which again, I have his kibble and I love that he's eating his kibble right now. Okay, so his leash skills are pretty poor, but let's go ahead and start working on some stuff. So I got a few exercises that I want to start with. First one, I'm just going to call his name and start feeding him a little bit. Okay, Roy, good boy, good boy. Okay, so we'll go ahead and just kind of let him get distracted here a little bit. There is some food on the ground there. I do want to control that a little bit because that's going to be one of the exercises that we're going to be working on and teaching him not to pick things up off of the ground. So even there is kind of the first time that I engage the leash a little bit more to let him know not to pick that up. Yes, good boy. I'm going to go ahead and reward him for paying attention to me right there. So again, guys, I'm kind of jumping all over the place, right? This is why I like sort of these live sessions here, okay? I do, right, good boy. Sort of have a game plan, but sometimes obviously these are creatures with brains, and so they're going to be, right, good boy. They're going to be kind of behaving and acting as they will, and then we have to pivot. Yes, good boy, good boy. So really, again, right now I'm going to be trying to start to shape and develop some focus. Right, yeah, good boy. Getting him to start to pay attention to me. Right, yeah, good boy. Start to move with me, start to come with me. Right, yeah. Good boy, come on. Right, good boy. What's that? Good boy. Good, so his response is pretty good there. So I'm gonna call his name, Roy. Yeah. I'm gonna backpedal backwards. I want him to actually kind of come to me. And then I'm gonna feed him, okay? Roy. Yeah, good. So we'll call his name. You can see he's throwing his head around to look at me. I'm backpedaling, kind of guiding him with me, or guiding him with the leash to me, right? Come on, Roy. Roy. Yeah, good. So we're using that leash to kind of bring him to us, which is starting to work a little bit on Roy. Good. Just a little bit of pressure, directional pressure, right? Roy. Good. So as he's coming, you're kind of guiding him with the leash and then timing it with your food when he gets to you. Roy. Good boy. So the brain is like, oh, right, I'm coming. But he feels a little bit of pressure, right? So we're gonna start to layer that pressure in a little bit, which is, again, teaching him how to be on a leash, how to go with the leash, how to follow the leash, which essentially is following us. Roy, yeah, good boy. Good boy, good boy. Roy, yeah. And then, also what's happening here is he's obviously going to the end and then making these turns, right? Roy, good boy. So we start going back and forth here. Roy. And right now, I'm obviously sort of luring him to make that turn, right? Roy, by calling his name. Good for him to turn back. But eventually, we'll be losing that, and we'll start to just work with our directional pressure and him following us, right? So we're building up to that. Roy, yeah, good boy. Sort of step by step, molding, okay? We're trying to mold understanding here. We're trying to mold response. Eventually, we're trying to mold behavior, right? So, Roy, good boy. Step by step. I'm happy with this so far. His response is great. His head flips around right away when I call his name. And Roy, yeah, good boy. He's coming all the way to me and taking the food. Really good. Couldn't have asked for any more right now. Roy, yeah, good boy. Good boy. So there's no sits. There's no, luring him down. There's none of that right now. I'm not worried about any of that. Right. Good boy. So again, maybe another second or third time that I did engage the leash a little bit more with that food that's on the ground. So I timed it where I basically kind of give him a little jab for trying to get that food at the same time of calling his name and luring him to me, right? So it was just perfect timing there. Roy, good boy, on Not engaging the leash too much yet. Whoa! What's that? Roy! Yeah, good boy. Roy! Yes, good boy. Okay, come on. Roy! Yeah, good boy. Good boy. So I always like to backpedal there, right? Take some steps backwards to create a little bit more distance between you and the dog, right? Roy! Roy! Good, good, good boy. So that was a great example right there. I called his name, he didn't really pay attention. I gave a little bit of pressure on the leash backwards while calling him, and then he turns and he comes. The moment, when you're working on this in the beginning, the moment your dog, yes, good boy, gives you something, the moment the head turns, the moment they acknowledge that you're calling them, in these beginning stages, encourage right there, right? So if you notice, the moment that he says, oh, you're calling me, I give him, yeah, good boy, good boy, Roy, good. I'm giving some type of positive, energy there and feedback, so he's like, oh, right, that's a good thing, right? I mean, even here, me just saying, oh, right, and talking that way, he's starting to look up at me. So it's gonna be a nice balance, perfect right there, okay? A nice balance between having to sort of let them know, oh, don't do that, don't pick up the food off of the ground, but encourage the good decisions, okay? Roy, yes, good boy. Okay. So again, just sort of understanding how to give correct feedback to the dog, right? Correct feedback, whether that be trying to stop something that the dog is doing, making sure you're giving correct feedback for that, and then trying to encourage something that the dog is doing. Roy, yes, good boy. Making sure you give correct feedback for that. It's all about feedback here, okay? These are feedback-driven creatures, and everything is moldable. Roy! Okay, so his focus is over there. Let's try one more time. Roy! So a little bit of pressure. Yes. Okay, so right now I'm not really worried about him not responding to his name. Okay, this is our first session here. Yeah, good boy. But what I am looking for, if he doesn't respond to the name and I give a little bit of that leash pressure, does he understand? Does he break focus? That's something that we're evaluating. We're actually trying to mold right now, right? Roy! We're trying to mold that by every time we're doing this calling his name and pedaling backwards, there is a little bit of leash tension. I'm trying to teach him that. Roy! Good boy. Trying to teach him that, again, this is our leash is our tool that we use to communicate to our dog with. We're connected to them with a leash. And so we're building some language and some value to it. Roy! So we can use that to communicate and things become more clear between you and your dog. That's a good boy. That's a good boy. So I think this is a really good session. Good boy. Good boy. We're going to build on top of this. I think he's going to do really, really well. Again, I feel like he's got a busy brain. He's got some drive in him, kind of a classic Frenchie. Remember that bulldog inside of them, right? We tend to have sort of dropped that half of the name on this breed. We like to call them Frenchies now, and we forget that it's a bulldog, okay? So we have to take care of that bully side too, right? Bully side is going to require us to teach them things, have some rules and boundaries and limitations for them, and keep them mentally stimulated, because if not, that's how you're going to run into your behavior problems with bully breeds, right? They're hard-headed, strong-willed, very intelligent, very willing to learn and to work if that's the dynamic that you have with them, right? So that's what we're looking to unleash with this boy right here. Yeah, good boy. Good boy. So essentially, this is the same exercise that we were doing, but with no food, right? So what's happening is, good boy. As he gives me his attention, I give him feedback. Good boy. He's following me on the leash. I give him feedback. So instead of me giving him the food, I'm giving him praise and attention. Okay, so all little moments that are just dropping into the bank, right? These are all little deposits in the bank that we're building towards the same goal and the same behaviors. Good boy. So understanding that all the little small moments matter. Okay, all the small moments matter with your dog in terms of the bigger picture. So paying attention to those little things. Good boy. Good boy. And understanding that those small moments matter outside of your quote unquote training session, right? So yes, this is an actual session on leash, but all of our other interactions with him are going to be very, very important, where we are paying attention to, you know, again, is this helping mold the behavior we're looking for, or is this going against us and sort of molding the behavior we're not looking for? Okay, good boy. That was real good, boy. Yeah.